Hey guys, tonight we're peeling back the marble-painted myths of ancient Rome to reveal something far less glamorous. You're not a senator, you're not reclining on silk, you're not even particularly clean. Tonight, you live in the belly of the beast, not the Colosseum or the Forum, but the part of Rome where plaster crumbles, garum leaks through cracks, and a sneeze from your upstairs neighbor might bring the ceiling down. Take a deep breath, carefully. The air in your tenement room is thick and warm with last night's charcoal smoke, oil fumes, and something vaguely acidic. It's dawn, though that's hard to tell in here. Your window is a tiny slit 2 floors above street level, and the only light is a dull smear of grey on the rough wall opposite your bed. A low wooden plank with straw poking through the cloth. Your bones hurt from sleeping on slats, but you're lucky to have even that. Most of your neighbours pile onto woven mats on the floor, sharing body heat in the winter, sweat in the summer. Your blanket is rough wool, scratchy, flea-bitten, and older than you. You shift, groaning softly as your limbs remember the dozens of amphorae you hauled yesterday from the cart to the alley shop downstairs. Your muscles scream, but the ache is familiar. So is the rumble in your stomach. Hunger is not a crisis here. It's a constant, like the hum of street vendors or the clatter of chamber pots dumped in the alleys below. The building groans with you. Your insula is 5 stories tall, a miracle of Roman engineering and a nightmare of Roman shortcuts. The walls are cracked, the wooden stairs feel like they might splinter into dust, and the upper floors lean just slightly forward like they're watching the street with hungry eyes. Voices echo above you, somebody's baby is already crying. You recognize the shuffle of old Marcus 1 floor up. He lives alone now, his wife lost to smoke inhalation last winter when someone's cooking fire got too bold. The building nearly followed her, and the singed beam across your ceiling still sags as a reminder. Downstairs, you can hear footsteps pounding on stone, vendors shouting in early Latin dialects, the crack of bread crusts being broken open, and somewhere far off, a donkey protesting its own existence. Rome never sleeps, not really. Even in these back streets of the Subura district, the city has a pulse, and you live inside its ribcage. Your sandals, if you can call them that, are a patchwork of leather and desperation, repaired more times than you can count. You step into them anyway and tuck your pouch beneath your belt. 3 worn copper coins, 2 pebbles you like the shape of, and a small carved charm your sister gave you years ago for good luck. It hasn't worked yet, but you keep it anyway. You rinse your mouth with a few drops from the shared jug, rainwater caught last night in a cracked clay pot, and spit into the corner. There's no bathroom. There's a bucket in the hall, full now. You'll have to empty it soon. Into the sewer runnel in the street, just like everyone else. The smell is as Roman as the aqueducts. You hear your neighbor's door creak open. Junior, with her 4 boys trailing behind her like hungry ducklings, gives you a nod. Her hair is tied with string, her eyes already resigned to the chaos of the day. Her eldest carries a chipped bowl, off to beg crusts from the bakery corner before the lunch mob hits. You follow them down the narrow stairs, each step uncertain. The railing is gone on this level, replaced with a fraying rope. Someone painted a warning on the wall in red pigment. Cave Gradus. Beware the steps. No one does. When you hit street level, it's like stepping into a furnace. Heat radiates off the stone, even this early. The scent hits first. Fish sauce, baked bread, sweat, horse dung, spoiled fruit, and the unmistakable tang of unwashed humanity. You're hungry? You consider a trip to Livia's shop around the corner. She sells bean mash on crusts for half a coin, if you don't mind her son staring, and the bread that could chip a tooth. Or maybe the stew vendor near the fountain. Watered down lentils with mystery scraps, but it fills the space. A procession goes by, some minor noble flanked by guards striding past as if the stink can't touch him. It does. You smirk. He's no cleaner than you, just better perfumed. And this is just the morning. The sun is climbing. Your day is waiting. Your body aches. Your stomach complains. And the walls around you could fall with a sigh too heavy. But you're alive. And in Rome, that's worth something. The street doesn't welcome you. It never has, but it doesn't push you away either. Rome isn't a place of open arms, it's a grinding wheel. And you are one of the stones caught in its groove. You push into the morning flow, dodging a runaway child chasing a stick and a chicken with opinions. The crowd here is thickest where smells gather. Fresh bread, old fish, wine gone sour. You're headed for Livia's stall. She's reliable, which in this part of the Subura is as valuable as gold. She's also mean, but fair. The kind of woman who slaps you for stealing and then gives you extra lentils when no one's looking. 2 coins, she says without turning, as you point to the bread and paste combination that might generously be called breakfast. It's a rough circle of barley bread, so dense it could injure someone if thrown hard enough. On top, a scoop of bean mash that's still steaming and smells mostly edible. You hand over your coin. She grunts, throws in a half slice extra. A kindness. Maybe because she remembers your mother, or maybe because you once dragged a barrel for her when her son refused. You nod thanks, tear into the bread. It crumbles a bit, the paste smearing your fingers, warm and gritty. You don't mind. Food is food. Across the street, a man is arguing with a vendor over a broken pot. Behind them, a child is relieving himself against the stone base of a statue. It's a common scene. Statues are as much toilets as tributes out here. You walk on. You pass the public fountain. A line of women is already forming. Amphorae balanced on hips, babies strapped to backs. One of them, Flavia, catches your eye. You used to share fish scraps with her when you were smaller. Now she works in the dye house and her hands are always red from crushed roots. She smiles faintly. You smile back. In this city, even small smiles are investments in survival. You take a detour through the alley behind the bakery. The heat there is intense. The ovens are already blazing and the air smells of burning crust and scorched flour. You glance up. The chimneys spill thin black threads into the already thick air. Someone yells your name. It's Gaius, one of the delivery boys for the garum merchant near the market square. His tunic is stained with fish brine, his face a sun-baked patchwork of freckles and exhaustion. You working today? He asks, tossing you a lump of something vaguely sweet, a fig scrap maybe. You catch it, grateful, and nod. Bathhouse repairs, east side, slum section. He winces. Hot bricks and bare feet, good luck. You shrug. Better than hauling fish guts. He nods, fair point, and then is off, shouting something crude at a passing wine cellar. You chew the fig, it's overripe, sticky, but it's sugar, a rare treat. Your path takes you to the eastern edge of the district, where buildings lean so precariously, even rats hesitate. The bathhouse there is ancient, even by Roman standards, cracked mosaics, broken fountains, and walls that sweat in the sun. A man waits by the door. Lucullus, the overseer. Balding, sullen-eyed, with a nose that's seen too many punches. He waves you in without a word. Inside, the air is thick with lime dust and the faint scent of old mildew. The Hippocaust floor is being relaid, brick by brick, stone by stone, in an oven-hot room with no breeze. You kneel and begin. Your job is simple. Carry bricks, fetch mortar, don't die. The heat is immediate. It wraps around you like a wet cloth. Your tunic sticks to your back. Your hands blister within an hour. No one speaks much. The workers here know each other, but words are rationed. Talking costs energy, and you don't have enough of it. You focus on rhythm. Lift, carry, drop, repeat. Occasionally, someone shouts when a stone slips or a pot cracks. The foreman curses the gods, curses the bricks, curses the man who showed up drunk and spilled water on the lime. You sip water sparingly. It's kept in a clay jug shared by all. It tastes faintly of smoke and last week's vinegar. Still you drink it. You sweat more than you swallow. You stink, but everyone here stinks. Rome doesn't reward cleanliness. At midday, you get a short break. You eat the last of your bread, lick your fingers, and rest your head against the cool stone of the bath wall. It's cracked and stained, but it's solid. You envy it. You think briefly of your mother. She used to hum while she worked, threading fish bones for hooks or mending nets for the rivermen. She died last winter, smoke and fever. You buried her quickly, no coins for a priest, just wrapped her in her work tunic and left a garum jar beside her as a kind of offering. She hated that smell. The break ends too soon. Back to bricks. The sun overhead climbs. Time drips. You keep working, the pain now background noise, part of the song of the day. When dusk approaches, the overseer finally lets you go. You're paid half a coin, a sliver of bread, and a promise of another job in 3 days. If the bathhouse still stands by then, you walk home slowly. Your legs tremble. Your hands ache. The city is dimming, shadows pooling in alleys. Fires crackle in iron baskets. Children yell. Someone plays a reed flute with mournful persistence. You climb the stairs to your room. Carefully, always carefully. You curl up on your slats, close your eyes. Another day survived, another day done. Sleep in Rome is not peace, it's a negotiation. You drift in and out. The walls creak with the weight of other lives. Someone coughs nearby, a deep hacking sound that echoes through the stone like a warning. A baby wails 2 floors up, and someone mutters a half-hearted curse in response. You roll over, pressing your cheek to the wooden board beneath your cloth pillow, a bundle of rags stuffed into a spare tunic. Outside your window slit, the city breathes in the dark. Rome at night doesn't fall silent. It just changes pitch. The clatter of feet becomes the creak of carts. Shouts turn into murmurs. The drunkards come out now, their laughter, strange and sharp, carrying down alleys like warnings. Somewhere in the distance, a temple bell rings for the final offering of the day. You don't dream. You can't afford to. By the time the grey light returns, your back is stiff. Your joints protest. Your mouth is dry as old parchment. You sit up, slowly, blink away sleep and stare at the wall. It's the same wall as yesterday, same hairline crack running like a vine through the plaster, same smear of soot where the oil lamp blackened it 2 nights ago. Today you're not expected at the bathhouse. That's its own kind of danger. No work means no coin. No coin means no bread. So you rise, wash your face with a handful of cold water from the basin, and tie your sandals with fingers still sore from hauling bricks. Downstairs, the street already stirs. Junior's boys are wrestling near the door, their feet bare, faces smudged with ash. She scolds them while handing out dry crusts. You wave. She nods, one eye always watching. You walk. You've got no job lined up, but you've learned to make yourself visible. Sometimes that's enough. You head toward the forum, not the marble part with senators in white, but the merchant edges where butchers and spice sellers and pottery hawkers swarm like bees around spilled honey. Your first stop is Sextus's workshop. He repairs sandals and sells scraps to beggars who can't afford full soles. You ask if he needs a hand. He grunts, shakes his head, offers you a leather strap with a smile anyway. You nod, thanks, tuck it in your pouch. Even the smallest item may mean a favor later. Next, you loiter near the baker's furnace. The heat feels good on your skin. The smell, yeast and ash, is strangely comforting. The baker's apprentice sees you and rolls his eyes. Don't you have work? Do you? He snorts, touché. He tosses you the misshapen end of a loaf, too ugly to sell but still warm. You eat it slowly, savoring every bite. One of your back teeth throbs, but you ignore it. It's been threatening to rot for weeks. You don't have the coin for a surgeon, let alone a miracle. As the sun climbs, you spot a familiar face. Decimus, a bricklayer you once helped unload a cart during a storm. He's heading toward the aqueducts with a crew of rough-looking men. You fall in beside him. Need a hand? You ask. He squints at you, then shrugs. Always. And just like that, your morning has a purpose. You trail behind him to the outer wall where one of the aqueducts, an older one, cracked and leaking, is being patched by hand. The scaffolding is a nightmare. Rough beams, uneven ropes, everything tied together with more faith than engineering. Your job? Carry buckets of mortar up 2 flights of planks, hand them off, go down, repeat. The sun is merciless. The lime burns your fingers. One of the men cuts his arm on a stone chip and ties it with his own tunic without pausing. Rome doesn't stop for injuries. By midday, your shoulders are shaking. Decimus hands you a fig and half a boiled egg wrapped in cloth. For the effort, he says, don't drop the bucket next time. You nod, mouth full of soft sweetness and salt. The egg is rubbery, the fig gritty, but it might as well be a feast. In the afternoon, clouds gather. Not rain, just heat. The air thickens. Your sweat comes in waves now. Your knees feel like cloth. When the crew stops for a water break, you rest your head on a rock and close your eyes for just a moment. You wake to shouting. Someone's slipped, a man named Paulus. His foot caught on a loose beam. He's down. His leg is twisted wrong. Decimus swears, spits, and waves for help. You help carry the man to a shaded wall. There's no doctor, just wine for the pain and a rough splint made from a broken fence plank. Will he walk again, you ask? Maybe, Decimus mutters, but not this month. They give him a coin and some bread. It's more than most get. As the work ends, Decimus slaps your shoulder. Good hand, come tomorrow. You nod, one more day secured. You walk home slowly again. The light is gold now, soft and wide across the rooftops. Someone's cooking lentils. You can smell them halfway down the alley. You pass a child playing with a clay figure, head missing, arms scratched. She waves, you wave back. Your feet hurt, your hands hurt, your stomach rumbles. But for now, you've survived another day in the hive of Rome. And in the slums, survival is a kind of victory. You reach your door just as the last of the sunlight fades from the top of the insula. The hallway smells like oil smoke and damp cloth. You step inside and the air welcomes you with its usual embrace, stale, thick, and tinged with whatever your upstairs neighbor had for dinner. You don't mind, it means they're still alive and the building hasn't collapsed today. You sit, slow and careful, on the edge of your board bed. The ache in your shoulders has gone from sharp to dull, a kind of background hum. Your legs throb with the soft rhythm of overuse. You stretch them out, one at a time, toes curling against the dusty floorboards. The sandals come off with a quiet sigh, and you run your fingers along the raw spots near your ankles. Not bleeding, not infected. Good enough. Dinner, if it can be called that, is the crust of bread saved from earlier, and a pinch of sour olives from the small jar in the corner. You nibble, chewing slowly, eyes closed. The bread is tough now, the olives, briny and sharp. You count each bite, stretch the sensation, let it carry you past hunger. If only for a few minutes, voices drift through the thin walls. Someone is singing, off-key, tired but sweet. Maybe Flavia. Her tone always cracks at the same place. Below, someone argues in a slurred voice, followed by a sudden thud and the sound of pottery breaking. Nobody screams. That's a good sign. You roll onto your back, stare at the ceiling. The soot mark from last winter's fire is still there. It looks like a bird if you squint, maybe a pigeon. You imagine it flying out up through the hole where the wall meets the roofline, into the Roman night sky, past tiled rooftops and drifting kitchen smoke. You fall asleep, not because you're ready, but because your body decides it's time. There's no dreaming, only the slow surrender of muscle to stillness. And then, morning. You wake with a start, a crash outside. Someone dropped a water jug, maybe. The sound is sharp, then fades into the hum of early street life. You sit up, stretch, groan. Your breath fogs in the cool air. The summer heat has broken, at least for now. The chill is sudden, damp, and welcome. Outside, the alley glistens. Someone washed something rare enough to notice. A dog trots by, ribs showing, tail high. You see the glint of sunlight on broken tiles above, the flash of laundry strung across windows like flags in surrender. You pull on your tunic, now stiff with dried sweat and dust. Shake out the worst of it. There's no second outfit, no laundry soap, no basin deep enough to fix it. You wear your labor like a badge. No bread today, no coin left. You'll need to find work by midday or go hungry by nightfall. You pass Junior on the stair. Her eyes are shadowed, her arms full of a squirming child. One of her boys has a bruised cheek. She doesn't explain, you don't ask. You just nod, she nods back. In the slums, that's as close to kindness as most people get. You head west this time, toward the old Tanner's Street. The smell reaches you long before the buildings do, pungent, earthy, and deeply wrong. The leather shops are clustered near the Tiber, where water and waste blend freely. You hope for a carrying job, something that keeps you moving, keeps you in motion, so you don't have to think about the gnawing in your stomach. The tanner, an older man with one eye and arms like carved stumps, sizes you up. He doesn't ask your name. You carry? I carry. He nods, hands you a sack. Take this to the dye house on Drusus Street. Back by noon and don't spill, it leaks. The sack is warm, wet at the bottom. You don't ask what's inside, you just sling it over your shoulder and start walking. The streets here are uneven, the cobbles cracked. A child nearly knocks you over chasing a stick. You curse quietly, adjust your grip and move on. You pass a temple, small, with chipped columns and offerings wilted in the morning sun. A woman kneels outside, whispering to a statue that's missing both arms. You keep walking. Drusus Street is 2 districts away. You count every step. The sack drips. The liquid smells faintly of copper and salt. Blood, maybe, or dye, or both. You try not to think about it. At the dye house, they take the sack with a nod. No coin, just a token, small and clay, marked with a symbol you don't recognize. Give it to Gaius, the man says. He'll square it. You nod, pocket the token, and head back toward the river. You find Gaius at a wine cart arguing over watered-down dregs. He sees the token, curses, and tosses you a coin. Next time, ask for more, he mutters. That sack stinks. You don't answer, just nod, pocket the coin, and turn toward the bakery. You trade half the coin for a piece of fig bread and a cup of weak wine. You eat slowly, seated on the edge of a broken wall, watching the street pulse with life. Rome groans around you. The heat returns, climbing the stones like a slow tide. But for now, your belly is full, your hands are clean, and your pockets aren't empty. For a slum-born Roman, that counts as a good morning. The sun climbs higher, bringing with it a new layer of heat that settles into your skin like a second tunic. You shift in your seat, the rough stone beneath you warming to an uncomfortable temperature. Around you, the street thickens with sound, voices calling out prices, donkeys protesting their burdens, the rhythmic clang of iron somewhere behind a workshop wall. You finish the last bite of your fig bread, wiping the crumbs from your fingers onto your tunic. The wine, thin and sour, leaves your mouth dry, but it's better than nothing. You don't linger too long in one spot, and someone assumes you've got nothing better to do. And if you've got nothing better to do, you might be pulled into something you really don't want to do. You make your way back toward the Subura. The alleys feel closer now, the shadows shorter. Somewhere behind a shuttered window, a man coughs, a deep, wet sound that echoes off the brick like thunder. You glance up. Most of the windows here are covered in cloth, ragged and sun-bleached. Glass is rare, privacy rarer. Back at your insula, you hear voices before you see anyone. Junior is on the landing, her youngest clinging to her leg, the older boys peering down from the stairs with wide eyes. A stranger stands just outside your door, a man in a worn cloak, hair curled with sweat, eyes sharp and too still. You don't recognize him, but you know his type. "Looking for someone?" you ask, stepping in without greeting. He turns, sizing you up quickly. "You live here?" "I do. I need runners, fast ones, for the courier post at the edge of the Aventine. One day, maybe two. Good legs get a bonus." You hesitate. Courier work means running messages across the city, or worse, across the hills. It's risky. Thieves wait near the market roads, and if you trip, if you lose a message, there's no second chance. But the pay, it could feed you for a week. "I'm fast," you say. He studies your shoulders, the way your weight shifts. "Be at the baths near the cattle gate by dawn. Ask for Licinius. Bring no one." You nod and he's gone, cloak trailing behind him like smoke. Junior doesn't say a word, just watches him go, then disappears inside with a quiet thud of the door. You lie down early that evening, head spinning with the thought of running. Your legs already ache at the idea, but the coin, you dream of it. Not gold, not even silver. Just a few more coppers than you usually see in a week. You wake in the dark before the birds, dress in silence, slip past sleeping bodies on the stairs, step into air that still holds the chill of night. The city is different before dawn, quieter, almost gentle. Fires flicker in street braziers. The sweepers are out, their brooms stirring dust into sleepy clouds. You pass a soldier sleeping upright against a wall, helmet askew. A dog noses through a pile of ash, tail wagging. At the cattle gate, the baths loom like a ghost, steam rising from the vents, workers already moving inside. You find Licinius near the back, hunched over a map. He doesn't look up. "North Gate, Forumborium. Take the message to the warehouse with the blue shutters. Say it's from the grain merchant. Repeat it back." You do. He nods. The tablet is sealed in wax, the cord rough against your skin. You slip it into your pouch and take off at a jog. The streets blur, feet pounding sandals slapping stone, past bakeries where ovens are just beginning to glow, past grocers stacking olives into crates. You dodge carts, leap over puddles, slip through gaps between donkeys. Your breath comes fast, your legs burn, but you don't stop. At the blue-shuttered warehouse, a man steps from the shadows before you reach the door. "Message? From the grain merchant," you pant. He takes the tablet, nods once, and disappears inside. You wait. A coin is tossed into the dust at your feet. You grab it, heart still racing. It's real, heavy in your hand, enough for food and more. Back in the Subura, you walk with a limp, just a little. The stone bruised your foot, and your sandals are nearly dead, but you're grinning. You hand Junior the extra bread. She doesn't say thank you, she just cuts it in half and hands it to her youngest. That's thanks enough. Tomorrow you'll run again, but tonight you sleep with a full stomach, aching feet, and a coin tucked safely beneath your head. And in Rome, that's a kind of triumph. The next morning comes too fast, but your body already knows the rhythm. Before the first rooster has finished its song, you're up, stretching sore legs, rinsing your face in a handful of cool water that smells faintly of the cracked basin it came from. The coin from yesterday is still tucked beneath your bed slats, pressed into a soft patch of cloth. You run your fingers over it before slipping it into your pouch. At the cattle gate, Licinius is already waiting. This time he doesn't speak, just hands you another wax-sealed tablet and jerks his chin toward the southwest. You nod. You've already memorized the route to the textile quarter near the Caelian Hill. Your feet hurt. Every step from yesterday echoes now in your joints. But you run. The alleyways are narrow, but they save time. You dodge a line of laundry strung across the way, nearly clothes-lined by a tunic flapping damp and defiantly in the wind. Past a group of slaves scrubbing stone steps with sour vinegar water, past a trio of children racing with hoopsticks, past a merchant shouting curses at a rat who seems to be winning the battle for a wheel of cheese. The hill slows you down. The incline is steep, and your breath comes hard now, but your eyes are locked on the stone arch at the top. Just past it, the textile shop waits, its doorway lined with hanging threads in red and ochre. The woman there takes the message, barely glances at you, and offers no coin. You stand for a moment, confused, heart still pounding, before she gestures to a bench and brings you a cup of something warm. It smells of herbs, rosemary maybe, and something sweet. "You ran well?" she says. "Wait." You sip the drink slowly, savoring the warmth as it moves through your tired limbs. After a few minutes, a young boy appears, hands you a folded cloth bundle and a coin tucked inside. The cloth turns out to be a clean tunic, stiff but unworn. The first new thing you've owned in years. On the way back, you carry the bundle with both pride and discomfort. It's too fine for your part of the city, and you tuck it under your arm like it might vanish if shown too openly. At home, you find Junior scrubbing a patch of soot off the wall with sand and vinegar. The boys are huddled near the window, chewing the last of their morning ration. You set the cloth bundle beside her with a nod. "Trade?" she asks. "Gift." She doesn't speak, but her eyes narrow slightly, not in suspicion, but calculation. A gift in the slums always means something. You spend the rest of the morning repairing your sandals. The leather patch from Sextus comes in handy, though your fingers bleed a little trying to get the stitch through. Still, the soles hold, that's what matters. By midday, the heat returns in full. Your body craves rest, but your stomach is restless. You trade half your coin for a small bowl of lentil mash from a street cook near the baths. It's thin but spiced. You close your eyes as you eat, letting the flavors pretend to be luxury. As you sit beneath a broken arch, sipping the last of your cup, a man stumbles past you, sick, maybe drunk, maybe both. His eyes are sunken, his arms thin as broomsticks. You recognize him vaguely from the upper floor of your insula. He used to sing sometimes. You wonder when he stopped. There's a space in your bowl. Not much, but enough. You wave him over. He blinks, steps slowly, sits beside you, silent. You hand him the rest. He eats without speaking. Just a nod, a small, slow one, the kind that matters more than thanks. Later, you walk past the bakery. The apprentice sees your face and frowns. "You look upright," he says. "I slept," he snorts. "Show off." That night, back in your room, you slip the new tunic from its cloth wrapping. You lay it out flat neat, not to wear, yet. Just to look at, a reminder, because even in the slums, even among cracked walls and bruised feet, something new is possible. Sleep takes you quickly, the sound of Rome humming beyond the walls, and for once your dreams come gently. You wake to the sound of pounding, 3 sharp knocks against wood, then silence. You sit up, heart racing. It's still early. The sky through the slit in your wall is the dull blue of half-sleep, the air just cool enough to feel like morning. The knocking comes again. This time, it's your door. You rise, still stiff, tunic pulled on hastily. When you open the door, it's Gaius. He stands with his weight on one foot, arms crossed, face half hidden beneath the edge of a frayed hood. "You run messages now?" he asks, raising an eyebrow. "Sometimes." "You want steady work?" You hesitate. Steady work usually means steady risk, but Gaius isn't one for wasting time. You nod. "Come." You follow him through the alleyways, through a side street that smells like rotting olives, and down a narrow passage where the walls nearly kiss. At the end is a courtyard, bare stone, cracked and quiet. A man stands there in a tunic, too fine for the Subura, and sandals that haven't touched mud in days. "This him?" the man asks. Gaius nods. "Good legs," keeps his mouth shut. The man tosses you a rolled scroll, sealed with wax that bears no mark. "Deliver to the house at the corner of Vicus Sceleratus and Porta Esquilina. Knock once, leave it in the bowl outside, do not speak to anyone, do not open it, do not be followed." You don't ask questions, you just nod. Gaius gives you a small pouch. If you're back before the bell at the temple, the rest is yours. And just like that, you're off again. You hold the scroll tight, slipping it inside the sash of your tunic. Your feet carry you down paths you barely know, roads used more by cats and shadows than by carts. You pass a bakery already cooling its ovens, a shrine to Mercury covered in fresh flowers, and a group of guards lounging in the sun, laughing too loudly. At the street corner, you see it, a modest doorway beside a boarded-up well. A stone bowl sits just beneath a rusted lantern bracket. You pause, check the road, empty. You place the scroll in the bowl. As you turn to leave, a voice behind you whispers, "Fast hands, quiet feet." You don't respond, just keep walking. Back in the courtyard, the man is gone. Only Gaius remains, leaning against the wall like he's always been there. "Well, delivered." He tosses you the pouch. Heavier now, you don't count it yet, just nod and walk away. You spend the rest of the day doing nothing and everything. You wash your arms at the fountain, scrape grime from your sandals, sit in the shade beside a broken statue of a forgotten god. You watch people, mothers yelling, beggars grumbling, soldiers flirting with a weaver girl who laughs without joy. The coin buys you dinner that night, real food. Lentils with meat, actual meat, and soft bread soaked in oil. You eat it behind the dye house, alone, watching the sky shift from gold to violet. When you return home, Junior is singing again, softly. One of the boys claps along, off rhythm. You pass her the last heel of your bread. She doesn't stop singing. That night, as you lie on your plank bed, your mind races with what the scroll might have contained, who it was for, what it means. But then the thought fades, because in Rome, questions are heavier than coins, and you're not strong enough to carry both. Sleep comes slow, but it comes, wrapped in the warmth of a full belly and the memory of a quiet street. You wake with the dawn bell echoing faintly across the rooftops, not from the temple, it's too far, but from the smith's apprentice, who's taken to banging the side of an old shield each morning in some unholy ritual of punctuality. It works, you're up. Your body's sore in new places today. Not the thighs, not the back, those aches are familiar. This one's in the arches of your feet and the inside of your elbows, like the strain settled in places it hadn't touched before. Courier work leaves its own fingerprints. The tunic you washed yesterday is still damp. No matter, you wear it anyway. The air is cooler now, early autumn slipping into Rome like a thief. You can see your breath just slightly as you lean out the window slit and look at the street below. No signs of Gaius? No new knocks at the door. The day is yours, or so it seems. You start with the fountain, where the queue is short and the water still clear. You fill a cracked cup, splash your face, and sit on the stone edge to drink slowly. A child beside you tries to scoop water with cupped hands. You help steady him. His mother nods from a distance, too tired to speak. Without errands or work promised, you drift toward the market. The forum's edge buzzes already. Oil merchants shouting prices, potters laying out cracked bowls like they're new. A man sells roasted chickpeas from a cart. You trade a copper sliver for a handful, still warm in your palm. A crowd gathers near the square's north edge, circling around a man on a crate, waving his arms like a priest, but speaking like a drunk. He's reciting Virgil, or pretending to, while another man mimics Roman senators behind him with exaggerated frowns and a tunic tucked absurdly into his sandals. The crowd laughs. You do too, until a city guard barks and the actors scatter like crows. You keep moving. At the edge of the market you see a familiar face. Livia, the stall woman from your earliest mornings. She's alone today, no sons or nephews. Just her, hunched over a pan of fried cakes. Help me carry crates, she says without looking up, and I'll feed you. You nod. Wordlessly, you fall into the rhythm of work. She has you lift crates of barley cakes, move a sack of flour from the shade to the counter, fetch a jug of water from the well near the temple wall. It's not hard, but it's steady. She doesn't thank you, not out loud, but the plate she hands you later is fuller than what she gives paying customers. You sit on an overturned basket, chewing slowly. The cake is savory, stuffed with herbs and a scrap of salted fish. It smells like effort and tastes like reward. Livia eyes you as you eat. Junior says you've been running errands, she says. You nod. Keep doing it. You're less miserable when you're tired. You chuckle, mouth still full. She's right. Later, you stop at the leather shop. Sextus waves you over. Your sandals, he says, handing you a bundle. Fix the stitching. Should hold for another moon cycle. You raise an eyebrow. Why? He shrugs. You didn't ask for credit last time. You slide the sandals on. They fit better now, tighter around the heel. You test them with a few quick steps. No pinch, no wobble. For the rest of the afternoon, you walk with no destination. You pass the river and watch a barge unload jars of grain. You linger near the temple of Juno and listen to a girl chant prayers over an oil lamp, eyes closed, voice steady. You step out of her way without a sound. When the sun begins to drop, you buy a twist of cheese and a dried fig with the last of your coins. You eat one, save the other. Back home, the room is warm with bodies and breath. The boys are asleep early. Junior gives you a look that might be a question, or a thank you. You stretch out on your plank. The sandals rest neatly beside you like old companions. You don't think about work or Gaius or the messages. Not tonight. Tonight your belly is calm, your shoes are whole, and Rome, for once, feels quiet. Morning arrives without warning, sneaking into your room as a slow brightening behind the stained cloth that serves as your window cover. Your eyes open before your body is ready. The stiffness in your legs has faded into something more tolerable, a dull, constant reminder of use. You sit up slowly, listening. The building groans. A distant cough rises from below, met by a splash you hope isn't from your water jug tipping over. Someone's sweeping near the stairs, their broom more noise than effect. The air is dry, and it carries the dusty taste of yesterday's smoke. Outside, the street is slower than usual. No shouted orders. No barking traders yet. A rare lull, and one you don't trust. You tie your sash tighter, pull on your sandals, thankful again for their sturdiness, and head out. The sky is wide today, a soft grey that promises neither storm nor sun. The kind of sky Rome wears when it doesn't want to commit. You don't have a job lined up, but standing still in this city only invites questions or worse, attention. So you walk, past the bakery, the scent of old dough still clinging to the shutters. Past the dye house, where thin plumes of smoke coil from the roof like the breath of sleeping dragons. You pass the little temple where beggars cluster, palms upturned, eyes glazed. You recognize one of them, a boy once quick with jokes, now quiet beneath a threadbare cloak. You keep walking. The Forum is livelier than your street. Merchants unpack crates, their voices sharp and rhythmic, like birds arguing over the same crumb. You weave between carts and hand barrows, avoiding the wheels that creak and the drivers that never look. A man brushes past you, carrying a bundle of reeds on his back, the tip slapping your shoulder. You don't flinch. You stop near a stall where spices are sold in little cloth bundles. The scent hits you like memory: clove, fennel, dried orange peel. All of it far too expensive. But the smells alone are worth pausing for. You watch as a wealthy woman selects a tiny cone of myrrh and passes 3 silver coins without blinking. Her fingers are ringed, her sandals cleaner than your drinking cup. Further down, a stone cutter chips lazily at a half-finished statue. The face has no eyes yet, just empty indentations. Dust clings to the worker's arms, thick as a second skin. You stand for a moment, watching him tap away, slow and deliberate, until he pauses and wipes his brow without looking at you. At midday, the heat arrives like a guest you had hoped wouldn't show. Not fierce but steady, it presses against your back as you walk. You find a spot beneath an archway and sit, knees up, watching the street change its pace. Workers move more slowly now, shade becomes valuable, bread sellers duck into corners, the clinking of coins comes less often. You chew on the dried fig you saved from yesterday, letting it soften in your mouth. It tastes of dust and sugar, the sweetness muted by time. Around you, Rome pulses, not loudly, not today, but like a drumbeat felt more than heard. An hour passes, maybe more. You drift in and out of light sleep, waking when footsteps come too close or when a cartwheel squeals. You stay where you are. You don't need to run today, not unless someone says otherwise. By late afternoon, you begin your walk back toward the Suburra. The light changes slowly, deepening around the edges. Shadows stretch across stones. The air smells faintly of cooked onions and boiling cabbage from a stew pot somewhere nearby. You don't follow the scent. You don't have the coin. Near the fountain, a group of children are arguing over a worn ball made from tied rags. You sidestep them, their voices fading behind you. Closer to your building, someone has painted a crude symbol on the wall, just a circle with a slash, a warning maybe, or a joke, hard to tell. Inside, the stairs creak under your weight. You pass Junior's door and hear nothing. No crying, no talking. Perhaps they've eaten already, perhaps not. You reach your room, unlatch the door, and sit. You don't light the lamp. There's just enough light to see your feet, stretched out and tired. You lie back slowly, arms crossed over your chest, eyes open to the cracks in the ceiling. The silence in the building is uneasy, but you're used to that. Rome is never quiet, just occasionally less loud. You fall asleep without meaning to, drifting on the sound of distant footsteps and the soft breath of a city that never truly sleeps. The next day starts earlier than you expect. Before the city's noises build into their usual rhythm, before even the first shouts of the morning vendors, you're awake. The chill has crept into your bones overnight. The cloth you used as a blanket did little against it. You sit up, rubbing your arms, breath blooming faintly in the dim room. The ceiling looks the same, but you feel different, restless, like something is shifting in the stone around you. You step outside, sandals scuffing softly against the stair, careful to avoid the loose board near the third step that creaks like a complaint. The courtyard is still half-shadowed, only a few early risers moving through, fetching water, clearing their doorways. A cart rattles by on the far street, loaded with firewood, the scent of bark and sap trailing behind. You don't know where you're headed. You walk not to arrive anywhere, but to avoid staying in place. The streets are cooler in the morning, the stones still holding the memory of night. You pass familiar corners, each marked in its own way, one with a crack shaped like a lightning bolt, another with a smear of soot from a long dead fire. These are your landmarks, silent companions to your routine. The market is still assembling itself. Stalls half-built, canopies stretched, ropes tied. You pass a man unfolding a cloth full of metal tools, hooks, tongs, blades. Another pours dried beans into a wide bowl, letting them fall with a sound like dry rain. The bread seller yawns behind a basket of misshapen loaves crusted over from last night. You keep walking. Near the edge of the forum, where shadows linger longer, a crowd has formed, quiet, not panicked, watching something. You approach carefully, weaving through the outer edge until you can see. A man lies in the gutter, face turned away, limbs splayed unnaturally. His tunic is torn, one sandal missing, the other dangling from his foot. A merchant stands nearby, arms crossed, looking anywhere but at the body. A few whispers float above the hush. Robbery, sickness, too much wine. No one touches him. No one dares. The city deals with its dead in its own time, and you've learned not to get involved unless you're paid or pulled in. You leave the crowd behind, the taste of metal lingering in your mouth. Death has a smell, part sweat, part silence, and you carry it with you for hours. Mid-morning brings heat again, and your legs ache from walking. You find shade near a bakery's side wall, where warm air leaks through cracks and makes the space oddly comfortable. You lean back, close your eyes, and try to remember the last time you were full. Not satisfied, full. You can't recall. Later, hunger pulls you back to your feet. You count your coins, just one, worn smooth, not enough for much. You trade it for a skewer of grilled onion and a strip of salted something that might once have been pork. The vendor doesn't make eye contact. You eat slowly, letting the salt burn your tongue. As you walk back through the alleys, the smells shift, dung and rot in some places, soap and steam in others. You pass a courtyard where women scrub laundry on flat stones, their hands red and raw, voices low and rhythmic. One of them glances up at you, not recognition, just habit. You nod anyway. She doesn't respond. By the time you return to the insula, the sun is already past its peak. Your room is warmer now, the stones breathing heat back into the air. You lie down, not to sleep, but to be still. Your body hums with weariness, not from labor today, but from the weight of the city itself. Even doing nothing in Rome costs energy. The walls close in, the ceiling above you flickering faintly with reflected sunlight from some window across the alley. You stare at it, letting your mind drift. Time passes without notice. You doze, waking only when a noise stirs near your door. A footstep, soft and unsure. You sit up, listening, but it fades. Maybe real, maybe not. In the Subura, not all things knock twice. The next morning unfolds without urgency. No task waits for you. No summons at the door. The day is your own, which is both a gift and a burden. In the slums of Rome, time without purpose is as dangerous as a broken stair or a cracked roof beam. It invites decay. You rise anyway, bones creaking, stretching against the ceiling's shadowed quiet. The air is dry again, but cooler. Autumn clings more confidently now. You can feel it in the texture of the stones beneath your sandals and in the sharpness of the wind that catches at the edge of your tunic as you descend the stairs. The neighborhood is quieter this morning, or maybe you're just hearing less. After a while, the city's clamor becomes background noise, constant, steady, like water flowing through pipes beneath your thoughts. You head toward the river, not for work, not even for food, just movement. The Tiber offers a strange kind of comfort, its stink less offensive when familiar, its steady current reminding you that at least something flows with purpose in this place. The embankment is mostly empty. A few fishermen tend to lines that dangle into the water, more out of habit than hope. One of them nods to you without smiling, his hands stained from gutting and scaling. You stand a while watching the ripples, letting your eyes unfocus. Your thoughts blur into the murky swirls below. You think, for a brief moment, of leaving the city, just walking, north maybe, or east. But the thought collapses before it can fully form. You wouldn't last a week beyond the walls. You're not a soldier, or a farmer, or merchant, with wares to trade. You're a body with scars and calluses, built for surviving the narrow lanes and cracked rooftops of Rome's underbelly. No one out there would understand you, or feed you. As the sun climbs, you turn back toward the inner streets. On the way, you pass a group of boys rolling stones in the dust, betting copper shavings on outcomes they change with sleight of hand and quick feet. One of them calls out to you, asking if you'll judge a throw. You shake your head and move on. They don't mind, they're already laughing again, the sound bouncing off walls like spilled wine. You pause outside a bathhouse, not one of the grand ones, not the kind senators visit. This is a working bath, a place where grime gets washed off and skin gets scrubbed until red. You consider the entry fee a coin. You have one now, tucked deep in your pouch, the last payment from Gaius. A bath would mean clean skin, soft muscles, steam. You linger in the doorway, imagining the warmth, the quiet, but hunger whispers louder. You spend the coin instead on a bowl of stew, thick with lentils, bits of carrot, maybe even meat. You sit on the low wall beside the stew vendor's cart, knees drawn up, balancing the bowl in your palm. Every bite is hot and heavy, and you drag your tongue across your teeth between spoonfuls, savoring the salt. Two women pass, their arms linked, speaking too softly to follow. One of them looks at you, then away, not rudely, just uninterested. You're used to that too? As evening stretches across the city, the warmth of the food fades but stays in your chest. You drift through the alleys with no aim now, just coasting between scents and shadows. A man plays a flute near a shuttered shop, the sound thin but persistent. A dog barks somewhere far off. A woman drops a bucket from a window and curses as it cracks on the stone below. No one looks up. You reach home as the first hints of dusk begin their slow descent. The stairs feel steeper today, or maybe you're just more aware of each rise. You reach your door, lean against it for a moment, and close your eyes. No new messages, no debts called in, no injuries. That, in the Subura, is a fortunate day. Inside, your room holds its warmth like a secret. You lie down without removing your sandals. No need, you'll be up again soon enough. But for now, you rest. The quiet hums around you, broken only by the occasional thump of footsteps, a cough, or the creak of a floorboard above. Sleep doesn't come quickly, but it comes. The dreams are strange. You see corridors that twist like rope, staircases that climb into darkness, voices that echo in languages you've never spoken. When you wake, your mouth is dry and your hands are clenched as if you were holding something in your sleep. The city hums outside, soft and unfocused, like sound heard underwater. You sit up, blink slowly. The light in the room is cold. A thick cloud cover hangs over the Subura today, muting color and soaking everything in a grey wash. The kind of weather that makes time feel slower, heavier. You move carefully, rolling your shoulders, wincing at the tight pull in your back. Another day begins without announcement or urgency. At the fountain, the line is long. People are quieter in this kind of light. They speak in murmurs, eyes downcast, as if waiting for bad news. You fill your cup, sip carefully, and leave without lingering. The stone is slick underfoot. Someone must have spilled vinegar or oil near the basin. You step around it, mindful of the stain. The streets feel less alive today. Fewer vendors, fewer carts. The usual smells, fish, smoke, dung, still hang in the air, but they're dulled by the dampness. Even the stray dogs seem more subdued, their tails lowered, their gaits slower. You wonder if rain is coming. Rome becomes meaner in the rain. You stop near the corner where the garum merchant keeps his barrels. The sharp, cloying stench is stronger now, biting at the back of your throat. A young man is arguing with the merchant, hands waving, voice raised. You keep your distance. Arguments like that don't need witnesses, they need scapegoats. Instead, you drift toward the edge of the commercial district, where a newer market is being built, or at least that's what the city claims. Right now, it's just stacked stone and half-finished stalls. But new buildings mean work, and you approach the foreman, a thick-set man with a curling beard and a voice like gravel. He sizes you up with a glance. You get a job moving bricks. It's not glamorous, not even close. You carry blocks from one stack to another, clear rubble, refill lime buckets, and avoid standing too still. The work is rough, but familiar. Your hands ache. Your arms shake after the third hour. But no one yells at you, and the foreman tosses you half a loaf of bread when he sees you stumbling slightly. You eat, sitting on a stack of discarded tiles. The bread is still warm, soaked through with something sour. Maybe wine, maybe water left in a bucket. You don't care. It fills the space in your gut and steadies your breath. By midday, the clouds begin to break. Slivers of sun streak through, catching on roof tiles and window panes. Steam rises from the stone streets. People move faster now, energized by light, by heat, by the hope that today might pass without incident. You return to the site, work another hour, then head back toward the Subura with a few copper slivers in your pouch. Enough for a bowl of barley porridge and a piece of pickled turnip, which you eat near the fountain. Children pass you, chasing each other with strips of cloth tied like tails. One of them bumps into your knee and grins without apology. You smile back, just faintly. The walk home is quiet. A man is sleeping in the alley beside your building, face turned to the wall, tunic pulled up around his shoulders. He doesn't move as you pass. You climb the stairs slowly, feet dragging, muscles already whispering their protest. Inside your room, the air is dry, thick with the scent of stone and the faintest trace of smoke from someone's cook fire leaking through the cracks. You lie back on the bed, arms stretched overhead, the ceiling your only sky. The sun slips lower. You feel it in the way the room dims, shadows curling into corners. For now, nothing is broken. Your body holds together. Your pouch holds coin. The walls still stand. It is enough. By the time you rise the next morning, the streets have already begun their slow churn. Sounds drift in before you've opened the door, barrels rolling across uneven stone, sharp-edged voices haggling over half-spoiled greens, the distant clink of tools being arranged with tired precision. You stretch quietly, rubbing your thumb over a sore spot in your side, the memory of a poorly hoisted brick. The light filtering into your room is pale again, but brighter than yesterday. The clouds have lifted, though the chill lingers. You move with less stiffness today, shoulders looser, the ache softened into something your body has accepted. You head out without a clear plan, guided by habit and the familiar pull of hunger. The market district welcomes you with its usual blend of chaos and rhythm. You slip through the crowd like water, unnoticed, unseen. There's comfort in that. You pause at a stall selling dried fruit and cracked nuts, breathing in the sweetness you can't afford. The vendor doesn't shoo you away, yet. You move on before he has the chance. Further down, you pass the spice quarter. The air here is warmer, coloured by scent, ground cumin, dried mint, the faint bite of pepper. The stalls are neater here, the merchants less inclined to yell. You slow your pace. It feels like a different city, this stretch, one with quieter desperation, better shoes, finer cloaks. You don't belong here, but no one stops you. Your feet take you past the bathhouse from last week. The workers are different now. A new crew. One of them nods at you. You nod back, the shared language of labor, recognition, without need for names. You think briefly about asking for a day's work, but your hands still bear yesterday's scrapes, and your back tugs with warning. Instead, you veer toward the south wall where the grain carts unload near the granaries. You know the routines here, the rotations of loading and lifting. It's the kind of work no one wants, but everyone needs. You ask a thin man with rope burns across his forearms if help is needed. He grunts, points to a stack of sacks. The answer is yes. The hours pass in hard repetition. You lift, shift, carry, stack. The grain dust coats your throat, clings to your arms, turns sweat into paste. You don't speak. No one does. The work is too steady, too breath-stealing. A boy younger than you slips and gets a face full of flour. He laughs, but it's a hollow sound like dry wind in a jar. By late afternoon, your limbs are buzzing with fatigue, but the sack piles are smaller now. The foreman's tone softer. He tosses you a coin and a heel of bread. No thanks, no promises, just what's owed. You take the coin to a food cart near the laundry wall where women hang tunics on ropes stretched between rusted nails. You buy lentil stew with a slick of olive oil across the top, and you sit on the steps beside the alley, spooning it slowly into your mouth. The oil clings to your lips. The lentils are soft, cooked longer than usual. You savor each bite, not because it's special, but because it's yours, paid for, earned. Back in the Sabura, the mood shifts with the failing light. People speak faster, louder. A woman drags a bundle of kindling up the stairs, eyes flicking left and right. A man passes with a goat on a rope, both of them moving as if chased. You sidestep them, slipping back into your doorway. Inside your room, the silence is thick. Not peaceful, just present. The kind of silence that settles after effort. You stretch out on your cot, arms folded behind your head, staring at the ceiling's familiar cracks. The smells of the day cling to you, dust, grain, sweat, but you don't wash them away. You lie still, listening to the night grow around you. No songs tonight, no laughter, just the breathing of the city, steady and unknowable. Sleep takes you like a tide. You wake to a sound you don't recognize at first. A scraping, steady and slow, like something heavy being dragged across stone. For a moment, you're still caught in the fog of sleep, unsure whether it's part of a dream or something real. Then you hear the footsteps, soft, deliberate. Not climbing the stairs, but moving along the hallway just outside your door. You sit up, quietly, the air in your lungs held tight. The noise fades. You wait a long while before standing, bare feet, finding the cool floor. The door creaks faintly as you lean against it, listening. But there's nothing now, just the usual creaks of wood, the distant clang of metal on metal, someone at the forge maybe, and a cough from 2 floors up that's become familiar in its timing and tone. You dress in silence and slip out onto the landing. The hallway is empty. No signs of who or what passed by. But the air smells faintly of burnt cloth and vinegar. You wrinkle your nose and move on. Outside, the morning sun is sharp. The kind that makes your eyes water even before you've blinked fully awake. The streets are already humming, though not in full volume yet. You start walking, not toward work, but away from the unease clinging to your skin. The city is better in motion. You find yourself on a path you haven't taken in days, toward the Weavers' Quarter. The rhythm there is different, faster, more precise. The looms hum like insects behind closed doors, and the weavers themselves move like dancers, every step measured. You don't know many of them, but you know enough to be invisible. You offer help to a dye worker hauling jars from a cart. He gestures toward the back wall where crates need stacking. You say nothing and get to work. The crates are awkward, sloshing with liquid that stings your nose, probably fermented dye bases or vinegar-soaked cloth. You lift, carry, stack. Your muscles burn in familiar places, the ache as predictable as the sunrise. No one thanks you, no one speaks. The work is its own kind of silence. When it's done, the dye worker hands you a thin strip of bread wrapped in waxed cloth and a stone token, redeemable at a vendor's stall nearby. You nod, take both, and leave without a word. The stall trades the token for a bowl of barley mash with a trace of honey. A luxury, that sweetness. You sit in the shadow of a broken arch, knees drawn up, eating slowly. The mash sticks to your teeth, but the honey cuts through, leaving a taste that lingers. You think of your room, of the sound this morning, of the odd smell. Rome is always full of strange things, sounds, shadows, changes you don't understand. But you've lived long enough to know when something presses too close. You make a note to speak to Junior later, maybe see if she heard it too. As afternoon edges in, the sky thickens with clouds again. Not the gentle kind. These carry weight, threat. You pick up your pace, cutting through narrower streets to avoid the main press of crowds. You pass a group of men arguing over a delivery of stone, voices sharp, hands waving, one of them clutching a bloodied cloth. You don't look twice. Near the Sabura's edge, a merchant offers you work carrying jars into storage. The jars are heavier than they look, and one nearly slips from your grip. You manage, though your fingers ache afterward, skin pinched and pink. The payment is small, just enough for a weak cup of wine and a bit of boiled cabbage, but you take it without complaint. Anything warm is a blessing as the wind picks up and the sky begins to spit. You reach home just as the first real drops begin to fall. The roof above your stair leaks in the usual corner, water collecting in a basin someone set out weeks ago and never emptied. You step around it carefully, climb, unlock your door. Inside, the air is still. You close the door behind you and lean against it, listening. Silence, no scraping, no strange smell, just your own breath. You lie down fully clothed, the day's weight still wrapped around your limbs. Sleep does not come quickly tonight, but it does come eventually, carried on the wind and the slow tap of rain against the window cloth. The rain doesn't stop. It continues through the night, light at first, then heavier, until it sounds like footsteps on the roof. You wake to its rhythm, a steady drumming that fills every corner of your room. The damp has settled into your walls, into the boards of your bed, into the fibers of your tunic. Everything feels colder, slower, swollen with moisture. You sit up, pressing your palm against the floor. It's slick, not yet wet, but on its way. The leak near the far wall is active again, dripping in a slow, steady rhythm into the clay bowl you left beneath it. The bowl is half full. You empty it out the window and reposition it before dressing in layers too thin to matter. The building groans with the storm. Somewhere above, something shifts and crashes, a loose tile perhaps, finally giving in. You wait, breath caught, but hear no shouting. No one hurt, not this time. Outside, the streets have turned to sludge, stones slicked with water, dirt and ash turned into slick puddles that swallow your steps. You navigate carefully, holding close to walls, moving slower than usual. You know this weather. It tests more than your footing. It tests your patience, your hunger, your skin. Few people are out. Those who are move like you, low to the ground, heads down, feet planted wide. Vendors cover their stalls with oilcloths. The smell of wet grain and damp vegetables drifts through the market, stronger than the usual spice and smoke. Work is scarce on a day like this, and no one wants to load carts, carry crates, fetch supplies when the roads are a mess. But you need something, anything to justify walking through this curtain of cold. You check the bathhouse first. They nod you in to carry buckets of hot water from one chamber to another. The steam burns your arms, the buckets slosh, but the warmth is real, and for a few minutes your fingers remember comfort. They give you a crust of bread at the end, hard but warm from the shelf. From there, you drift toward the warehouses. The grain district is quieter than usual, but you see men stacking sacks in the rain, slipping, cursing, carrying on. You join them without being asked. No one stops you. No one wants to be the one doing the extra lifting. The foreman gives you a coin at midday and nothing else. The sack dust clings to your wet tunic, making it stiffer, heavier. You walk back toward the Sabura, slower now, avoiding deeper puddles, the wet slap of your sandals echoing through narrow alleys. Near your building, you pause under a broken arch to eat the bread. You soak it first in rainwater caught in your palm. It softens just enough to chew. The water tastes like dust and rust, but it clears your throat, and the bread no longer cuts your gums. You make your way inside just as thunder rolls low and long across the rooftops. The door to your insula sticks with the swell of moisture. You push hard, shoulder first, and step into the musty warmth of shared space. Upstairs, someone is singing. Not a song, really, just a humming pattern, rising and falling with no words. You stop at Junior's door. A moment of stillness. You hear her voice through the wood, low, soothing, speaking to one of the boys, maybe about the storm. You move on, not knocking. Your own room is no drier than before. The bowl is filling again. You sit on your bed and remove your sandals, setting them by the wall. Your feet are pale, wrinkled from the wet. You stretch them slowly, trying not to wince. The rain continues. The light outside fades early, swallowed by the thick clouds. You don't light a lamp. You just lie back and let the room grow dark with you. The city sounds quieter in the rain. Still busy, but muffled, like someone threw a blanket over Rome and told it to rest. You lie there, listening to it breathe. And, for a while, you do nothing else. The storm stretches into another day. Rain drizzles without rhythm now, like the sky has grown bored of its own noise but hasn't yet stopped. When you wake, the light through your cloth-draped window is pale and flat, the kind that erases edges and makes everything in the room feel suspended. Your tunic, left hanging to dry, is still damp. You put it on anyway. The smell of wet cloth follows you out the door. The insula creaks more than usual, walls swollen. floorboards moaning with each step. A drip echoes from somewhere deep in the hall, not from your own leak, but from another one further down, finding its rhythm. You step around puddles at the stair landing. Someone's bucket has tipped over. The water seeps along the floor like a slow, deliberate creature. Outside, Rome is quieter. The storm has driven the life inward. Fewer shouts, fewer carts. The city moves, but reluctantly. You find yourself avoiding open spaces, keeping to overhangs, covered walkways, places where water doesn't fall directly onto your head. There's no expectation of work today. Even the most desperate employers are more likely to close shop than ask for help in this weather. You drift toward the river, walking slowly, not because you're in pain, but because the city itself feels slowed. The streets carry a soft sheen now, puddles forming in the usual low spots. You know the places to avoid, the step near the tanner's alley that's deeper than it looks, the worn channel outside the candle makers that fills with murky runoff and broken twine. You pass a shrine tucked into the side of a wall, barely more than a niche carved into the brick. A clay figure stands there, water pooled at its base. Someone's left a soggy offering, bread, maybe, or fruit, no longer recognizable. The rain hasn't spared the gods. Near the forum, a group of men huddle beneath a tattered awning, speaking in low voices. You catch only fragments: price of oil, sick boy, temple guards again. None of it useful, none of it your concern. You walk on. By midday, your stomach growls louder than usual. You haven't eaten since yesterday's hard bread and grain dust. You search for a vendor still operating. Most have shuttered. But near the edge of the southern market, you find a woman selling soup from a covered pot, her face barely visible behind rising steam. You trade your last coin. The soup is thin, mostly water with hints of lentil and a slice of something soft, vegetable or meat. It's impossible to tell, but it's hot. You hold the clay cup in both hands, sipping slowly. The warmth spreads through your chest like firelight. You sit on a wet stone bench to finish it, the steam fogging your vision, the taste fading too quickly. Afterward, you walk without a goal, through alleys where drain water flows like rivulets, past shuttered windows, doors drawn tight. Rome isn't sleeping, but it's hiding today. A city curled into itself. When you reach the Suburra again, the first thing you notice is the silence. Not absence. Rome is never truly silent, but a change. A new layer. Fewer voices in the air, more doors shut. A sense that people are waiting, holding their breath. You climb the stairs slowly, avoiding the slick patches, the swollen board that always shifts. Junior's door is closed, no sound behind it, not even the usual whisper of children. Back in your room, you lie down fully clothed. There's no need to undress. The chill is part of you now, and the damp has settled in your joints. The bowl near the leak is half full again. You'll empty it later. You lie on your back, hands folded across your chest, eyes on the ceiling. The cracks there are more familiar than the streets. You trace them silently, finding the shapes you always do: a fish, a face, a lightning bolt. The rain continues, software relentless. You close your eyes and the sound becomes the only thing left. The rain breaks sometime during the night. You wake to stillness, unexpected and vast, like the air itself is holding its breath. The silence is thick, broken only by the occasional creak of the wood or the far-off clatter of a cart being righted after days of idleness. For a moment, you lie still, listening. You don't trust the quiet, not at first. But when you rise and unlatch the door, the world confirms it. The storm has passed. Outside, the air feels scrubbed clean, every surface rinsed by 2 days of relentless downpour. The stones shine underfoot, slick but luminous. Puddles remain, but their surfaces are calm, catching reflections of rooftops and hanging laundry that's been hastily rehung. The city looks bruised, but no longer beaten. You make your way downstairs, your sandals slapping softly against damp wood. The familiar scents are different today, less smoke, more earth. The smell of wet plaster, rotting leaves, and the bitter sting of washed-out oils. You inhale deeply and something in your chest loosens. Rome, for all its cruelties, smells kinder after a rain. The streets begin to pulse again, slow but steady. Vendors emerge like insects from under stones, stretching, yawning, setting up their stalls with caution. Some speak softly, as if unwilling to disturb the stillness. Others act as if the storm never happened, shouting prices with their usual rhythm. You stop by the bakery first, drawn by the scent of real heat. The ovens are back, smoke curling from the roof like a signal. You trade a copper shaving found near the storage crates yesterday for a flatbread, warm, blistered on one side, soft on the other. You eat it while walking, steam rising with each bite. At the corner of the dye house, a man you half know waves you over. He's older, with hands stained purple, and teeth gone soft, but his eyes are sharp. "You move fast, yeah?" he asks. You nod. That answer has brought you more work than any claim of strength. He points toward a stack of crates, dyed cloth, bundled and wrapped. "Take 2 to the temple quarter, deliver to the steps beside the olive cellar. You'll see a cart with red wheels." You nod again, lifting the crates, lighter than you expected but awkward in shape. You balance them carefully and begin your trek. The path takes you through streets still drying, children splashing in puddles, dogs sniffing the new fresh earth. A woman sweeps water from her doorway with the determination of someone who's done it 100 times before. The walk is long, but the city is breathing again. The sun even peeks through at one point, casting gold over the rooftops, making the puddles gleam like coins. You catch your reflection in one. Tired eyes, damp tunic, hair matted to your forehead, but there's something steadier in your gaze than you remember. At the temple quarter, you find the cart easily. Red wheels, just as promised. A thick-set man leans against it, chewing on a stick. He nods as you approach and unload the crates without ceremony. No questions, no names. He tosses you a fig and a copper. You eat the fig slowly on your way back, savoring its sweetness. Not ripe, but close. The seeds crunch faintly between your teeth, grounding you. Back in the Subura, the mood has shifted. Windows are open. Children run along the corridor with bare feet and shrieking joy. Junior's door is ajar. Inside, you glimpse her brushing her youngest's hair with a carefulness that feels rare in this place. She sees you and for once doesn't look away. Just a nod. Simple, quiet, enough. You spend the rest of the day cleaning your space, wiping down the walls, emptying the water bowl, adjusting the bedding. Not because you expect visitors, but because the city is new again, and you want your corner of it to match, even if only slightly. As night falls, the quiet returns, not heavy like during the storm, but gentle. The city sighs beneath the stars, and for once, there's no shouting, no clamor, no hammering feet above your ceiling. You lie back on your cot, hands behind your head, eyes tracing the familiar cracks again. This time, they seem less like breaks and more like maps. The next morning dawns with a clarity that feels unnatural. The air is crisp, almost sharp, and light pours through your window slit with a brightness that slices through the usual haze of Roman dawn. The Subura rarely shines, but today even the grime seems to glitter, dew clinging to roof tiles and stone lintels like tiny offerings left by the gods. You move more easily now, the stiffness in your shoulders has loosened, and the ache in your legs has settled into something manageable. You take a moment to stretch, to roll your neck, to feel your body not as a burden, but as a vessel that's carried you through another week of survival. Downstairs, the building buzzes with energy. Doors open and close, voices hum with renewed strength, and the smell of baking bread wafts up from somewhere nearby. Real bread, crusted and golden, not the flat, ash-flavored scraps you usually trade for. A sign of good trade or good fortune. Outside, the street is already alive. Children run barefoot through puddles, rapidly disappearing in the growing heat, their laughter sharp and high-pitched, slicing through the still-waking district. You pass a butcher arguing with a pot seller, a woman balancing a basket of herbs on her hip while nursing a child, a man painting over graffiti on his door with short, angry strokes. The city has returned to its normal rhythm, but with something lighter threading through it. As if, after the storm, people are moving not out of desperation, but momentum. You head toward the southern edge of the district, where new plaster has been slapped across the walls of a tavern recently rebuilt after a fire. There, men are lining up to haul amphorae into the cellar, wine shipments judging by the smell. You join the line without speaking, and after a brief glance, the foreman gestures you into the rhythm. The work is straightforward. Amphorae are heavy, awkward, but balanced once you know how to carry them, held close to the ribs, one hand braced beneath the rounded base, the other steadying the slender neck. You move in step with others, muscles working in concert, sweat gathering quickly at your brow despite the coolness of the morning. Hours pass in steady labor. No one talks, but the silence isn't heavy. It's filled with movement, with the grunts of effort, the scuff of feet on stone, the low slosh of wine shifting inside clay. When you're done, the foreman gives each of you a quarter loaf and a splash of the wine, watered down but rich with flavor. You take your meal to the stone wall that borders the market slope and sit, elbows on knees, eyes watching the mid-morning unfold. The bread is better than expected, soft inside, crust thick and satisfying. The wine lingers in your throat, warming. Later, you visit the tanner's yard, not for work, but to check on your sandals. The last repair held well, but you know better than to ignore signs of wear. Sextus is there, as always, his hands red with dye, sleeves rolled back to reveal arms like rope. He nods, checks the soles, gives you a small strip of leather and a needle with a nod. You fix them yourself on the stoop nearby, needle slipping through with less effort now that your fingers remember the motion. When the light starts to slant, you return to the Suburra. The street's tone shifts as the sun dips, fewer merchants, more noise from windows, the sound of pots clanging, water being poured, voices arguing over portions. You pass Junior's door again. This time it's open, the boys sitting on the floor, carving something into a scrap of wood. She looks up as you pass. You pause. She gestures, just a flick of her hand, and you step inside. The room is small, tighter than yours, but filled with warmth. You sit near the wall. She doesn't speak much, but she divides a bit of stew into an extra bowl. Lentils, onion, something bitter like mustard green. You eat slowly. The boys glance at you, curious but unafraid. The youngest offers you a carved pebble, painted with a stripe. You take it with a nod. Later, back in your room, you place the pebble on the shelf beside your cloth bundle and stitched sandals. A strange collection, but it feels like something close to ownership. A story, even if only you can read it. You lie down, arms behind your head again, and let the day roll off your skin. For now, you are fed, dry, and known, at least by name, in one household. And in this city, that is no small thing. The next day begins with the sound of laughter echoing from below. Not cruel or mocking, but genuine, a rare thing in the Suburra. You blink awake slowly, taking in the sound like a foreign language. It fades as quickly as it came, but it lingers in the walls like warmth left by sunlight. You rise without hurry. There's no pressing work today, at least none promised. The storm has passed, the worst of the cleanup finished, and the city has slipped into a momentary pause between needs. You pull on your sandals, double knot the leather thongs, and step into the world without a plan. Outside, Rome is in full bloom again. Not of flowers, those wilted with summer, but of sound, motion, heat. The street smells of fresh lime plaster and damp straw, a strangely pleasant combination. Vendors hum as they set out their wares. A boy chases a runaway chicken down an alley, arms flailing. His shouts echo off stone walls. You make your way toward the lesser markets, not for food, but for motion. The act of walking, watching, blending into the churn of life gives you a purpose when none is assigned. You stop briefly to help an old woman whose cart has tipped. The jar she carried didn't break, though it rolled a good few paces. She thanks you with a boiled egg and a wink. You crack the egg open with your teeth, salt it with a pinch you carry in a twist of cloth, and eat it while leaning against a temple wall. The sun is warming now, climbing higher, and the city reflects it in gold and shadow. At midday, you drift toward the public gardens, one of the few places in the city not built for commerce or survival. Here, families sit beneath trimmed trees, tradesmen doze beside fountains, and children wrestle in the grass under the half-watchful eyes of their mothers. You find a bench, worn smooth by use, and claim it for yourself. A man beside you talks softly to a pigeon on his knee. He doesn't acknowledge you, and you don't disturb him. You both sit there, resting in the silence Rome rarely grants. As the sun moves, so do you. You stop by a cart for a handful of olives, traded for a few thin copper bits you forgot you had. They're salty and rich, and the pit cracks satisfyingly beneath your molars. You savor each one, letting the juice linger before spitting the stone. When you return to the Subura, you find Junia sweeping the threshold of her room, not with care, but with purpose. Her arms move in short, aggressive strokes. She sees you and pauses. There's a moment, not quite invitation, not quite dismissal. You nod, and she nods back. You offer to take the broom. She hesitates, then hands it over. You sweep slowly, pushing the dust and pebbles into a small pile. Her youngest watches you from behind her skirt, thumb in mouth, eyes wide. You wink. He hides again. Later, Junia calls you in without words. You step inside. Dinner is boiled barley with herbs and something that tastes faintly of fish. She divides it evenly, adding a sliver more to your bowl than necessary. The room is quiet, filled with the sound of chewing, occasional coughing, a spoon clinking softly against wood. You don't stay long after. Just long enough to help rinse the bowls, to accept another pebble from the youngest, this one painted with 2 stripes, and to nod your thanks before stepping back into the hallway. In your room, the shadows have shifted. The air feels warmer, or maybe your skin simply holds the heat of kindness longer than the sun. You place the new pebble beside the first. Together they look like pieces of a game no one taught you how to play. Still, you keep them. You lie down, stretch your limbs and close your eyes, not because you're tired, but because, for once, you feel like resting. The next morning arrives with a strange sense of balance. No urgent aches, no hollowness in your stomach, no sounds of alarm or scuffle outside your door. You lie still for a while, letting the silence wrap around you like a wool cloak. It's thin, fragile even, but it's there, and you've learned to recognize when a day begins with a gentler edge. You rise, brush the dust from your tunic, and step into your sandals, now softened and familiar to the shape of your feet. A short glance toward the windowsill confirms the pebbles are still there. The painted stripes haven't faded. It's strange how much comfort two stones can offer. Downstairs, the insula is in motion but not frenzy. The stairwell smells of warm wood and faint soap. Someone scrubbed the steps in the night, perhaps trying to wash away the last traces of rain. You pass a girl carrying a small pail of ash, her steps careful, lips pursed. She doesn't look at you, but she doesn't shy away either. Outside, the street is alive again, but not hungry. The carts roll steadily, the voices are loud but not sharp. A bakery has reopened across from the dyer's stall, and smoke curls from its oven chimney like a promise. You inhale deeply, the scent grounding you. You head first to the bathhouse, not to work, but to check the wall beside it, where a man sometimes leaves scribbled marks offering odd jobs. Today there's a charcoal line shaped like a crescent, his sign. You wait by the side gate until he appears, all elbows and knees, hair like unraveled rope. He eyes you, nods, and points to a sack near the corner. Deliver to the olive press, straight path, no dawdling. The sack is heavier than expected, full of something dense and wrapped tight. You don't ask what's inside. You just shoulder it and begin walking. The route takes you through alleys you rarely use, quieter, less worn, with walls painted over more recently. A cat watches you from a ledge, eyes slow, blinking. You nod to it like you would a neighbor. The olive press is farther than you thought. By the time you arrive, your back is aching in 2 new places, and the strap of the sack has left a raw line across your shoulder. You set it down with care. The pressman grunts, tosses you a fig, and hands over 2 copper slivers, not bad for an hour's walk. On the return, you buy a handful of roasted chickpeas wrapped in old paper and eat them slowly as you pass the outer forum. You stop by a fountain and let the cool water run over your hands, the sting on your shoulder soothed by the splash. Back near the Subura, you find yourself walking slower, reluctant to go inside just yet. The sun is beginning to drop behind the rooftops, and Rome has softened into its amber phase, the light golden, the edges blurred. People speak more quietly at this hour, as if not wanting to disturb the day's closing breath. You climb the stairs just as Junia steps out of her room. She doesn't speak, but she places something in your hand, a folded cloth bundle. Inside, 3 small barley cakes, still warm. You meet her eyes for a breath. No questions, no thanks. Later, in your room, you eat 2 of the cakes while sitting by the window. The third you wrap carefully and place beside the pebbles, unsure why. Maybe for tomorrow, maybe just to remember that something sweet came from today. As the sky darkens, the stars blink on, faint but steady above the haze. You lie down, bones tired but not broken, eyes half-lidded, the city humming softly around you. You are not wealthy, you are not safe, but you are known and you are not alone. And in the Subura, that is everything. The final morning arrives with a whisper. No loud carts, no clattering of pots, just the sound of fabric brushing fabric, tunics being adjusted, cloaks shaken free of dust. You wake with the light already streaming across the ceiling in golden strips, slicing through the room in slow silence. You stretch gently, not because you ache, but because you can. The past weeks have worn grooves into your body, but today those grooves feel like pathways rather than wounds. You rise slowly, touching the pebbles on your shelf as you pass. 2 stripes, then 1, before wrapping your tunic and stepping into the day. The street is still slow, caught between waking and waking fully. Neighbors nod to one another without words, gestures of quiet acknowledgement. You pass an old man feeding crusts to birds from a cracked bowl. They flutter greedily, their wings brushing his sandals. But he doesn't flinch. He just smiles, murmuring to them like kin. You don't have work planned, nor are you hungry. You walk for the sake of walking, letting the city unfold around you, one breath at a time. You pass the corners you know, the arch where Junior's oldest carved his name in chalk, the wall where someone always paints fresh symbols, prayers or jokes or warnings no one knows. Near the forum, you find a cluster of musicians, flute, lyre, hand drum. Their tune is soft, slow, not for crowds, but for the morning itself. You stand in their shadow, letting the notes drift over you, brushing your ribs like hands smoothing linen. Later, at the market, you help a blind vendor lift his crates into position. He doesn't ask for your name, he just offers you a piece of dried plum and says, "For the quiet help." You eat it slowly, letting the sweetness settle into your tongue, your thoughts. As the day unfolds, you begin to notice how familiar everything feels, not just in memory, but in comfort. You know which steps will creak, which dogs are safest to pass, which vendors are kind with their scales. You know when to speak and when to nod. You know who to trust for a favor and who to avoid when wine's in their breath. And for the first time in a long while, you feel not like a ghost haunting Rome's edges, but a thread woven into its pattern. Back in the Suburra, the sun leans low. Children race past your legs with sandals flying loose. Someone's cooking lentils again, the smell soft and earthy. You climb the stairs, slower now, not from fatigue, but from the desire to make the climb last a little longer. Your room welcomes you like a cave, cool and dry. You sit near the window, peering out across the rooftops. The sky is the color of pressed figs, deep purple, with streaks of rose near the edge. A wind stirs the curtain gently like a sigh. You take the third barley cake, still wrapped, and eat it slowly, crumb by crumb. The taste has faded with time, but not with meaning. You leave the cloth behind, folded beside the pebbles. A small shrine to survival. As night swells over the city, you lie back, arms folded across your chest, breath slow and full. You are not rich, you are not powerful, but you have made it through storm, through hunger, through aching bone and empty bowl. And still you are here. Outside, Rome hums. Inside, you drift. And at last, sleep takes you, not with the heavy hands of exhaustion, but with the soft fingers of peace.